So, in a piece of what I would describe as quite surprising news, perhaps, but perhaps not, three Scottish Greens councillors have defected to Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's new left-wing, soon-to-be party, your party, today. Three Glasgow councillors and, I'm told, quite a few members and activists, including a very prominent activist who we've got here today, Ellie Gomersall. Hi, Ellie.
Hi, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. I just want to ask, you have chosen, you've been with the Scottish Greens for quite a while now. You have chosen today to leave the party and go to your party. Why?
Yeah, I mean, well, back a few months ago when Zara and Jeremy announced the formation of this new party, I think it was the most hopeful and most excited I'd been about politics in years. I feel like so much of politics in the last few years has just been dominated by fear and worry, the idea of reform, forming the next UK government. I think Nigel Farage is well on his way to Downing Street. And when I saw that announcement, I felt real hope for the first time. And it did dawn on me at the time that the most hopeful and excited I'd been about politics was for a party that was not the party that I was a member of. Obviously, it's been a few months since then. There have been developments, obviously, within your party, a few hiccups at the top. But actually, the thing that's made me most excited has been seeing what's been happening at the grassroots. I mean, literally hundreds of people in Glasgow alone wanting to get active and involved in this party. Meanwhile, I got selected as a candidate for the Greens, was hopeful that I might end up being an MSP come next May. But what I was quickly starting to realise, I was chapping on people's doors and I couldn't look people in the eyes and ask them to vote Green when I was actually much more excited about a whole different party. I've been open in the Greens about my frustrations with the party. I think particularly during the Butte House agreement, but even since then, consistently voting through cuts which have directly harmed my community and working class communities across the country. And people, I think, are so frustrated and are turning to the likes of reform because they're seeing their lives getting worse because of cuts to public services. And Greens have been complicit in that, as have been every single other existing Holyrood party. And it really feels like the direction for the Greens is more of the same. There's been a huge boost for the Green Party of England and Wales down south with Zach Polanski, but Ross Greer is not Zach Polanski. And while the Greens have had a bit of a membership increase here in Scotland, it is absolutely nothing compared to what's been achieved down south. And then last week at the Greens conference, voting against closing the door on even working with your party.
Was that the final straw?
I think it was. I think I'd been really contemplating it for a bit of time. And to be honest, the vote went exactly how I expected it to go. I think I find it really frustrating because I think Greens hear all the time from parties like the SNP, you should step aside because you're going to split the indie vote, all of that sort of thing. And Greens know that that's absolute nonsense, that Greens have a right to stand. And Greens have got much better ideas, I think, than the SNP. And people should be able to vote for them. But then Greens using the exact same arguments about why your party shouldn't be standing. And, I think, as we're recording this right now, the polls are open over the Irish Sea for the President of Ireland. And there you've got someone like Catherine Connolly. That's, I think, a real display of left-wing unity. All of those sort of left-wing parties have come together to say, actually, no, this is what we need from our politicians. This is what we want to see from the President of Ireland. And so we're going to come together and work together to build a better future. And Greens have closed the door on that.
One thing that I wonder is, as you say, you're really excited about this idea of left-wing unity, and I think there is a lot of that in our politics right now. Some people would say that looking just at pure electoral, from an electoral standpoint, if you do end up having, say, Greens and your party candidates standing in the same seat, it could, are you worried that you could see being a bit congested
Oh
on the
God,
left
yeah,
wing.
absolutely, 100%. And actually, I think that is exactly the reason why I was advocating so strongly for Greens and this new party to work together. I was advocating for that from within the Greens. I'm going to carry on advocating for that from within your party, because I do genuinely believe that the only way that we can win, the only way that we can actually improve people's lives and defeat the far right, is if we come together and work together. And yeah, I find it frustrating because, well, of course your party is going to stand in elections, because I think they do have some ideas that are different to the Greens. As I say, I've been so frustrated by consistent cuts to public services. I don't think the Greens have prioritised working class voices enough. I think they've let down communities. I tried to fight that from within the Greens. It's clear that we weren't being listened to. So I think now actually fighting that from within a different party is the right answer. But for Greens to say, well, actually, this new party shouldn't stand at all, is exactly the sort of hypocrisy that you see when the SNP say the same thing to the Greens about independence. It just doesn't hold.
Speaking of independence, actually, not a bad pivot there. Your party's policy on independence isn't really clear. I think Corbyn has been sort of quite clear, saying, he's open to the idea of an independence referendum, but certainly their stance on independence is not clear currently. Some people will be sort of a bit skeptical of you, say, defecting to your party, given that the Scottish Green stance is quite.
Well, it's worth saying your party we've not had our founding conference yet. We've not actually set in stone our policy on anything. I think it's one of the reasons actually why I wanted to jump at this point, is to help shape that policy. And what was very, very clear to me from all of the conversations I've had from the tons of people who have been engaged with your party so far here in Scotland is that there is a really strong desire for that to be a movement that supports independence. I think with across the UK-wide party, I think we're looking at a party that is ambivalent at worst and actively supportive of independence at best. But the thing is that the SNP, John Swin is talking about his secret plan. They're trying to get people to just vote SNP when people are so frustrated with this government. They're polling at record low numbers even still. As much as I think it's wrong, and I'll fight against it every single day, the reality is that the simplest way for us to achieve independence is to elect a Westminster government that is pro-independence. And I think that your party, while obviously will have, it will hold positions beyond just the constitutional question, I think that if we can get to a point where actually we've got hundreds of MPs across the UK who are actually saying, no, Scotland does have the right to choose. That is an important democratic principle. Can form the next government and get us that referendum. I think that is how we achieve independence. So I think you're absolutely right. Your party doesn't have concrete policy at the moment because we don't have concrete policy on anything yet. That's for members to decide. And as a grassroots party, members will have their say. But I think that the reality is that actually this party is the best vehicle right now for us achieving that vision of independence.
I've got two final questions, one of which is, it's been well documented, all the drama that's happened when it came to the leadership. I mean, going into it, are you a little bit worried about that aspect of things,
I'm actually not. And I thought I would be. And look, when I saw it all kicking off a month or two ago, I was concerned at the time. But actually, what I've really seen with this party is that it's not the people at the top who are the most important people in this party. It's the grassroots members. And that was something that I was consistently frustrated with in the Greens, was we'd call ourselves a grassroots democracy, but then it felt like everything was oriented around the sort of Hollywood bubble. With this new party, what's become very clear to me is that it is the grassroots who have the power. And as I say, there have been literally hundreds of people, including since some of that drama has happened, who've come together, including here in Glasgow, to start organising and start fighting for a better future. And, I think that there have been people who maybe haven't behaved in the best way. That said, people are starting to, have put that aside now and are working together because they recognise how serious this is. So yeah, absolutely, there's been hiccups, but actually, I'm not concerned about it because I see what's happening at the grassroots, and I think that's going to be the real power that will push forward this party.
That makes sense. And I want to also ask you, as you specified, you were on the Glasgow list. Second on the list for the Scottish Greens. it's not clear at the moment whether your party will be standing, whatever it ends up being called, will be standing in Holyrood next year. I'm told it's highly likely that they will, but we shall see. But is that your goal, to be a your party MSP come May?
Probably not, to be honest. That said, I absolutely think your party should be standing MSPs and should be standing in next year's elections, and I'll absolutely be there fighting for that and fighting to get those MSPs elected. That said, I think it's unlikely that I would be one of them. I want to make it really clear that you know, I've moved to your party because this is a movement that I genuinely believe in, and I'm not going to rule out, you know, standing for something for that party in the future if the members were wanting to select me. But when it comes to next May, I think that I'm best placed to organise at the grassroots and get some socialists who might not necessarily be me, but get some actual socialists elected to Holyrood, and I'm really excited to do that.
Magic. Thank you so much, Ellie.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
For coming in.